If you watch our video all about resin 3D printing and which ones you should buy, you might be wondering, how the heck do these things work and where's the cat? We'll answer at least one of those questions for you, but to do that, we have to go back to basics. Thank you so much for joining us. My name is Grant. This is an Elegoo Mars. And yeah, no cat right now. She's off doing important cat things, but that's okay because we're here to talk all about resin 3D printing, and it kind of fit in the shot, so I said, what the heck, we'll throw it up here. This is actually a damaged Elegoo Mars that we've had for a while. It came pretty screwed up from the factory. I forget where all the damage is, but it was pretty damaged. The screen came broken, the front LCD screen was completely busted out, and Elegoo, instead of having us return it, just sent us a new one. And they said, keep it for parts, do whatever you want with it. And oddly, it's been great. We've been using it for a couple of parts here and there, but wanted to show you guys how these machines work because they're not as scary as they might look. We do need to get the front panel off of it, so let's do that. Now that we have the LCD off, we can see what's underneath, and there's not really a whole lot. If you look, there's a circuit board, which is kind of jankily in there, but hey, it doesn't really matter. You've got a LED source right here, a big reflector, a heatsink, and a fan. There's really not much of these because it's basically a small little screen with an LED light on it. We have an LCD panel right here. On the newer models, they are monochromatic LCD screens, so they don't have a piece of glass on top of them, making them a little bit more fragile, but you end up with a much faster model building experience because the light transfers through it faster. They're actually pretty simple. There's a stepper motor in the back. Not sure if the camera's gonna pick it up, but okay, yep. We have a stepper motor in the back, and that really enables us to do everything that we need. We need to move the build plate, which attaches here, up and down. We need to expose an image with the LCD screen. We need to have a user interface, which is captured by the front touch panel on the Elegoo Mars. And on the original Mars, all of your connectivity is on the back. You've got your on-off switch, your USB, and your power jack, so that really it's all the connectivity you actually need. Now, I will say on these original Marses, the USB in the back just upsets me because it's such a pain in the butt to reach, and you had to bring it all around front. But that's not really what this video is about. It's about how resin printing works and why it's important. We're going to grab a resin tank, since I happen to literally have one of those sitting here. The resin tank looks like this, okay? It is a metal container with a FEP sheet. What a great sound here. We're going to do that right by the microphone one more time. Beautiful. Also, you can talk into it and get some hardcore reverb. Not the name of that actually matters, but the resin tank would go here on the machine. You would tighten down these screws. You would fill it with resin, and then you'd be ready to print once you had your print bed leveled. Now, as I said before, this machine did come damaged from Elegoo. It never worked, and it was pretty messed up, but we've been using it for spare parts, one of them being a spare build plate. One of our build plates stripped out, and we were unable to use it because it would just spin and make some pretty crazy looking parts. This is one of those parts. As you can see, she got a little cattywampus and went crazy. I mean, that's just insane. So what occurred was, as the part was building, the build plate started twisting because no matter what we did, we couldn't actually lock it down. Let's talk about the materials here for just a minute, and if you're looking for a more in-depth video about those materials, get subscribed because we have that coming at you soon, all about the consumer-grade resin 3D printing materials that you can buy for your affordable resin printer. And if you're wondering about that video, there's going to be a card right here to take you there so you can take a look at it. Resin is toxic. Something that you need to know. Resin is toxic. You will have an allergic reaction to it, if not immediately, overexposure. And that's why you should always wear gloves when handling raw resin parts. This part has been cured, so it is completely safe. We left all the support material on because I said, well, this is just too crazy. I mean, look at that. That's just too crazy to throw away. It'll make for a really good example part one day. This was before we had a YouTube channel. So, hey, paying dividends for like $15 worth of wasted material. But resin gets you extreme quality. So I want you to imagine this part on the build plate. Resin prints upside down and it pulls it out of the vat. But these machines are pretty cool. You're able to do incredibly high detail models. And especially if you are someone that loves to make jewelry, loves to do tabletop gaming, or somewhere in between where you need a higher resolution than FDM 3D printing. By the way, we did a whole video on that. Card to it right here. The vat itself is full of resin. You actually pour your liquid resin into here. There's a cover that goes on top of the machine to keep UV light out, and it exposes layer per layer. Now, a really awesome thing about resin 3D printing is that it exposes the entire layer at once. And let's be clear, this is masked stereolithography, MSLA, masked stereolithography. Mass stereolithography allows each layer to be exposed at the same time. Machines like the Formlabs Form 3 or the Peopoly Moai use a laser where they have to move that laser around the bottom instead of one big UV light source. The downside to the UV light source is that you need an LCD screen to mask any of that UV light that you don't want to get through. Which sounds like a great idea, but unfortunately, UV light and LCD screens don't get along all that well. And it can be a bit of a problem, which means the screens on these machines are a wear item. Similar to how the nozzles on an FDM 3D printer are wear items, the screens, as well as the FEP film inside of the vat, those are wear items and will need to be replaced over time. A standard LCD screen is expected somewhere between 200 and 500 hours worth of time, and a monochrome screen is expected to last over 2,000 hours, or until you drop your build plate on it. Yeah. But thankfully, all these parts are easily sourced right on your favorite sources like Amazon. We'll have some linked in the description, so you can find them nice and quick in videos like this. But the technology is pretty awesome because you're able to create incredibly fast models. Utilizing a vat, which is right here, full of a liquid resin, being exposed, utilizing the UV light, which is down here, the LCD screen, which is masking certain areas and then allowing light to pass through in other areas, you're able to build with monochrome screens 2 seconds or a little bit more per layer. That's incredibly fast. You can make a 40mm tall figure for Warhammer or other desktop gaming in a couple of hours or less. But when it comes out, there's some stuff involved. Get subscribed because we're going to do a whole video on post-processing, both in FDM, where we're going to show you how we sand, prime, paint, and the whole 9 yards. And then we're going to show you one on cleaning supports and actually how to set those supports inside of your favorite slicers for resin 3D printing. Don't forget, the resin itself is a little toxic. You do always need to wear gloves. You need to have the machines operating in well-ventilated areas or rooms that have high amounts of VOC filters in them like we do here at 3D Musketeers. Always make sure to have that protection on your hands. And honestly, those long kitchen yellow gloves that come to like your elbow are great when you're starting, just in case you get a bit of a splash. If you get any of it on your clothing, make sure to get that off your body as quick as expected, right? Get yourself cleaned off so you can get that resin off your skin. It may not have an immediate reaction, but over time you will become sensitive to it, and it will create kind of an itchy rash that, if you do wash it, will eventually go away. Resin 3D printing is powerful, and incredibly affordable when you look at it. I mean, good lord, it's a $200 freaking printer. We decided here at 3D Musketeers that instead of having one really expensive resin printer that we would change colors for, we'd get 7 of these. We have 6 colors and 1 printer that we used as a test bed for crazy color mixing and material mixing, because it made more sense for us as a business. And you can do this too. These vats here, the metal vats, the nice ones, are like $25 a piece. You can buy spare FEP. This one still has its protective coating on it, but you can buy spare FEP so that you can do all of these changes yourself. You can do this yourself, and we're gonna have a whole tutorial on how to change FEP sheets on an Elegoo Mars. And when we do mess up one on the Elegoo Saturn, we'll make sure to show that off as well, because tutorials are useful. Anyways, other than leveling, there's not much to these machines. It's quite frankly the software that makes some of these cheaper ones a little bit more difficult to work with. But again, we're gonna have a video coming out on that, so get subscribed if you want to see more content like that coming your way. My name is Grant. This is 3D Musketeers. Hopefully we've answered a little bit more for you about resin 3D printing. Let us know in the comments what you would make if you had access to a resin 3D printer, or what you do make because you have access to one. We'd love to have a conversation with you down there in the comments, because I actually read and reply to as many comments as possible on every single video. Let us know how we can help you out. Don't forget to call your loved ones, and as always, keep making awesome. Have a good one. Founder.